and welcome back to Young and Excellent. We are a platform for young artists, young entrepreneurs, young anything who is young and excellent and willing to share their story with us. We are fantastic at what we do. Shout out to Samantha. But we are so thankful we've had so much support and so much love for this channel, this podcast. And we have a new addition to the team, and his name is Nicholas Macedo. I love him very, very much. And he has been doing a lot of the camera work, so he's on our team now, which is incredible. I saw him roll his eyes along with Samantha behind the camera, so I thought I'd have to give him a shout out, of course, because clearly I left him out. My bad. I'm a terrible fiance. Anyways, thank you for tuning in to Young and Excellent. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. We love it when you do that, so thank you. Thank you to the Sarnia Journal for sponsoring us, publishing us, and uplifting our voices. You guys are seriously fantastic, and we really, really appreciate your support, especially as young 20-somethings and maybe almost 30, but we're not going to talk about it. Speaking of not talking about it, you should subscribe to their emails and just read and enjoy the news, because staying connected to your community is so important. And we hope you all subscribe, get those daily blasts, and stay in the know. On today's episode, we are speaking to Jessica Alexandra, a new up-and-coming author who has just published her first book, but she's only 16 years old, which is incredible. I guess when this airs, 17, and she is 100% young and excellent. We dive into conversations about what it's like to be a young artist, what it's like to be homeschooled, and what it's like to be Jessica. And I really genuinely love Jess so much, and I'm so thankful she came on the show. Hope you guys enjoy. Have fun. Just kidding. Welcome to the show, Jess.
Thank you.
It is such a treat to have you on, just because we got to work with each other on Finding Nemo Jr.
Yes, we did.
Because you were the acting consultant, and I was a director, and I feel like I've had such a privilege of knowing you. So I'm so excited to dive into who you are and what your life is, and as an artist, what you do. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Great. How are you though?
I'm doing fantastic, other than extremely busy.
Yeah, the plight of being a really high successful teenager.
Exactly, right? I'm run off my feet most days.
Oh, absolutely. So for you being a teenager, I know that you don't go through the traditional kind of schooling. Mm-hmm. So can you explain to me what schooling you're currently in right now?
Currently, I do something called homeschooling. So I do all of my education at home. I'm autodidactic, so I teach myself.
Wow. I don't know how you do that. I would not be able to do that at your age, because I was just scatterbrained. I'm still a scatterbrained. But for you, is that a big joy that you have so much freedom in your day since you're doing it yourself?
I definitely enjoy it, and I'm definitely learning a lot more than I would have gotten to in a traditional school system.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because I remember in the summer too, you mentioned how life experiences also count towards your education because you're learning things as you do them.
Oh, yes.
How does that work?
There's a bunch of different ways it could go. I've been homeschooling for a very long time, and most of my schooling comes from, for example, I am an avid baker. I love to bake. So a lot of how I learned the basics of math and chemistry was through baking and having to half recipes or double recipes and things like that.
So cool. I love that idea, just because I know there's a lot of schools, mainly in the States. I don't think Canada's really been hit with it just yet, but a lot of schools in the States will do experiential kind of learning, where if you're farming, you're learning actually really awesome basic life skills that you would get from a science class, that you get from a drama class, that you get from all these things. And I think it's so interesting because it's just the opposite of my educational experience. Yep. And I think it's really cool because I feel like you are such a well-rounded person. Do you feel like that's because of your education, or is that because that's just who you are?
I think it's a little bit of both. Definitely, I think the education has some piece in that, but I also think I'm pretty fantastic anyway, so.
I love that. Well, thank you. And so as an artist, did you think that your schooling experience gave you the freedom to also discover that? Or do you think that you're just an artist and you were born to be an artist and that's who you are?
I actually didn't discover any of my interests until during COVID, and I was already homeschooling at that point.
Wow, not until COVID.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I never wrote. I wasn't a writer. I never found any joy in writing until COVID. I was sitting at home and I was bored out of my mind. And my mom suggested, well, why don't you start up a blog? You can share your life stories. You can write short stories. You can do book reviews, because I was an avid reader.
Yeah.
And so I did. And I immediately found a love for writing. And in about 20 days, actually, is the 4th year anniversary of my blog. So I've only been writing for 4 years.
That is incredible. And good for your mom, Mama Bear, to be true.
Exactly.
I do love your mom. Every time I get to see her, I get so happy.
She's fantastic.
She is. She's so kind and just like so wise too, I find.
Yes.
Yeah, which
Yes,
is so
she
nice. So the fact that she saw that and knew you'd be good at it, encouraged you and empowered you, that's really, really cool.
Exactly.
Only 4 years though.
Yep.
And you already have a book out.
I do.
So what was it like? Where did the idea for your book, and would you be able to explain your book a little bit too, while you explain to me where it came from?
Oh my gosh. This is always this question I struggle with. I can write in a 100,000-word book, but then when I get asked what it's about, that's the part I struggle with.
I get that. I 100% get that.
So my book actually started out as an idea for a TV show.
Oh, cool.
About a brother and a sister who both had secret lives as hitmen, but the either one didn't know. And then the idea kind of spiraled out of control, and I ended up writing it as a book and severely changing the plot.
Yeah.
But that was the original idea behind it.
So you're a visual writer then?
Oh, yes, definitely.
So you attach... See, I write like that too. And oftentimes the reason why I get why you struggle with that question is because I struggle with it. The book I recently published was more of like drawing on from my own personal experiences, but the one I'm writing right now is completely fiction. And I describe it as if somebody takes over my body and I'm just writing. And I just have this story in my head and I'm picturing it and somebody is transcribing it. I don't even feel like it's myself. Like I'm in the world, I'm experiencing the story, and somebody is transcribing what I'm experiencing.
I completely understand that. I get that too.
Oh, that is so cool. Okay, I'm happy I'm not the only one because sometimes I'm like, is this like some weird woohoo stuff? Like, is there a spirit taking over me? Like, I don't know what's going on here, but I think that that is also a testament to imagination.
Oh,
as
yes,
well.
definitely.
Do you feel like you've always had a wild imagination?
Oh, yes, 100%. I have a crazy imagination.
What's like the wildest thing you've ever imagined or dreamt of? Because I feel like dreams are also kind of part of that too. What's like the wildest thing?
The wildest thing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's hard.
It is hard. Well, and most of my writing and my imagination is extremely brutal horror.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you were like a horror, like fan fiction, that kind of stuff. You were into it? Yeah.
Yep, I'm a psychological horror author. So it's very much... Now, do I say the most imaginative thing or the most
messed up
horror-esque thing?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I love that about you, though. So your current book, what's the title of it again?
The Murder Society.
The Murder Society. Okay, perfect. I know it's on the table and I knew the name, but I was like, we better say it out loud.
Good idea.
The Murder Society. So is that kind of a psychological horror as well, or is it more diving into the stories of secret lives?
It's very much more of an action-packed thriller drama type thing. I did want to lean into more horror-esque type vibes with it, but it kind of completely took control of itself, and it's much more drama and crime based than horror.
I love that. But I do love horror books as well. Are you working on a horror book right now, or are you strictly? Ooh, okay. So is your dream, because I know you're also a filmmaker, is your dream to go into the horror realm, or are you very much more open?
My overall goals, I would say, is I want to specialize in horror, but I also want to know how to do everything well.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that because I love filmmaking and I love script writing and I love all these things, but I find I have more of a, I don't know, geared towards like Tim Burton-esque kind of stories.
Yes.
I'm much more not into the horror, not into like the psychological thriller, but more into chaos and what chaos looks like and how everyday world isn't actually reality and how can we manipulate reality. And so for you wanting to specialize in horror, what about that like makes you go, absolutely, this is my thing?
Another very tough question.
Yeah, it is a tough question.
Honestly, before I started writing, I hated horror.
Really?
Goosebumps scared me so bad.
Well, Goosebumps does be scary sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could not stand horror. And then I sat in front of my computer and I pumped out my first short story, and it was horror. And I had absolutely no idea how that happened.
Yeah.
And so through that, I've slowly found a love through horror. But a lot of the horror I tend to write is very much psychologically based because it dives into how the mind can turn on itself.
Wow. I love that question. I'm currently in the process of doing a one act for Theatre Sarnia, and my play is really based in that, that idea of what happens to the mind when like you kind of get corrupted a little bit.
Yeah.
So that is so cool that you found that interest through writing. You didn't have it before.
Nope.
You just let it happen.
Yep.
Now looking back, do you understand why that happened, or are you still like, I just like it, it's a mystery to me?
I think it's a complete mystery, to be honest.
It's so cool.
Right.
And as you grow, you'll figure that out even more and more and more. But then for filmmaking, how did you get into that?
Well, I used to reside in London.
Okay.
And through there, I was a part of the theater community, a youth program, and I got to be in many plays and musicals, and I loved it. And through that, I found a love for all things theater related. And I always had an obsession for the behind the scenes of movies. I'm the type of person that I will interrupt the entire movie with behind the scenes facts and telling you how it was filmed.
Yes, I am the exact same way. I get that.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, why am I not just doing it? Why am I not just making things myself? I can do it. I'm fully confident I have that ability. Why am I not?
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, I just started turning my short stories into short films.
So you're just a go-getter.
Yeah.
I love that though. I think as an artist, there's a spirit of go-getter that you need to have to be successful.
Oh, definitely.
Because you need to be self-driven. And if you're not self-driven as an artist, I want to say that like you're not going to be successful. That's not what I want to say. But it's just more of you will definitely have to rely on others, and relying on others creates instability, and I have a hard time with that. So I can't put myself in that shoe at all. But in terms of the self-drivenness, I'm with you on that. Like I already have like my film company thought of. I've already thought of a location. I've already thought of all these things. And so to see that in you at such a young age is so cool. Because not many people know that you're a teenager. You get mistaken for an adult all the time.
Yep, exactly.
I thought you were like 19 when I met you.
My birthday's actually in 3 days.
Oh my gosh. Is it the big 1/8 or is it the big 1/7?
1/7.
Okay, I was going to say, because you were just 16 in the summer. So yeah. Oh my gosh. How does that feel?
Crazy. Are you an ABBA fan?
Absolutely. I am.
It's my dancing queen year.
Dancing Queen. Absolutely.
And I actually got to go see ABBA Mania.
Oh my God. How good was it?
It was fantastic. I loved it so much.
Oh my God. I was going to get tickets and it was sold out because it's one of the best concerts in Sarnia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was my first ever concert too.
Oh, and for it to be ABBA Mania. Okay. That's so sick. Shout out to the Imperial Theater. Thank you so much. No, that is so cool. So you're in your dancing queen year.
Yes.
What does that look like for you?
Busy. Very busy. I do so much.
What do you do then? Break it down.
Oh my gosh. I used to host 2 separate podcasts.
Oh yes, I remember these. Yeah.
Yes. One was actually interviewing teen writers around the world. I'm currently marketing my book that was just published, The Murder Society.
Woo. Buy it, everybody.
Of course. And then I'm 75,000 words into my next book.
Jeez.
I'm currently in the middle of filming my next short film. The editing process has already started. I'm plotting my next short film.
Wow.
And I'm actually prepping to move to a permaculture farm. I'm going to live off-grid for a few months. Yeah.
That is so, what is, okay, can we break that down for a second? Because I don't even know what that word means. What'd you say?
Permaculture.
Permaculture. What does that mean?
So it's farming with as little human interaction as possible.
That is so, are you and your mom going to do it, or are you going off on your own?
Me and my mom are doing it. We made friends with these people in Warwick, and they have a permaculture farm.
Oh, shout out to Warwick. That's where I want to live. Like, my dream destination is Warwick, because I just love Warwick so much. So that is so cool. You're living my dream, and I hope you have the best time ever.
I'm excited.
That is so, and you're going to learn so much too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because when you unplug, I find that the world almost comes to you. Are you like looking forward to that? Just to
I am
unplug
very
from Sarnia?
excited. I'm very excited. Not to mention they have they breed Jack Russells. So they have like 15 different dogs on the property.
That's awesome.
I love dogs. So.
Oh, then that's amazing. I feel like farm and dogs just make sense.
Oh,
to
yes,
me.
definitely.
And I feel like you almost need a dog if you're gonna have a farm. So that's so exciting for you. So when does that journey start?
We're hoping to set up everything this year. I'm going to be moving into a trailer, so we have to winterize the trailer and all that,
absolutely.
and then we'll be moving out next summer.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yep.
How is that going to affect writing and filmmaking for you? Because I know that that's a passion for you.
Definitely. There are a few things that I'm worried about because we will be off grid. So we have to use power banks. We're still iffy about if we're gonna rig up internet or not.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm pretty confident because most of my work I can do offline, except for the communicating with people, of course.
Yeah. But that will be there when you get back, though.
Oh, of course, definitely.
But that's so cool because then you're probably gonna have to switch to like writing by hand. And I feel like there's a love and a joy that has been lost from writing by hand.
I agree.
I used to write by hand in high school because that's when I started. Well, I started writing when I was like 4, but in high school I wrote books, I wrote plays. Like I would write. Like Nick had to read a few of my plays back in the day. Like they were so bad, but they were fun. And so like for me, I always wrote by hand and then transcribed afterwards. And so for you, you get to just be like almost, I don't want to say unhinged because that like gives the wrong like imagery, but
of course
you just get to write.
Yeah.
And be. And just like see what comes out of it. And that could make you like a really strong artist, even more so than you are right now. Oh, that is so, so cool. So yeah, you got a busy year ahead of you.
Yes.
Your dancing queen year sounds like it's setting you up for success.
Oh, yes, I definitely think so.
Oh, that's so exciting. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the Murder Society. What can people expect to read when they read it? Like, what do you want the audience to get from it?
It's definitely a book about strong family bonds, relationships between sisters, which I find is very important.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, I'm so bad at describing it.
I feel like this is the struggle with every author because you don't want to give too much away. And then you also don't want to like make people feel like it's not worth a read. So how much information do you give? It's very difficult. It's very difficult.
I'm sitting here trying to just not read the back of the book.
You can read the back of the book if you want. It can be like a little infomercial. We can have a little drop down.
That'd be great.
Yeah, honestly. But yeah, if you want to read the back of the book, that's totally fine with us.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Grace is a 19-year-old girl who lives in a small town that has been forgotten by the world around it. There is no running water, no electricity, and no kindness. But that doesn't stop Grace from giving her younger sister Brooke the best life she can provide. Oh, that really touched my heart. One fateful night, Grace makes a grave mistake and gets arrested for murder and thrown in jail. Oof. Just when all hope seems lost, a mysterious man appears, offering her a way out. She cautiously takes the strange man's deal. Her death is faked, and she is given a new identity. Scarlet, is it Volpes? Volpes, contract killer. That sounds riveting. And I love that even from that, I get the hint of sisterhood in there.
Yep.
Wow. So people need to read this book.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so why was the family bond so important for this book, though?
So that idea between a strong bond between two sisters was another way of how the book came to be. So in the you're familiar with TikTok?
Yes.
Well, in the days there was called Musical.ly.
Oh my God, I forgot about Musical.ly. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I was bored one day and very young.
Yeah.
So I decided to dress up in this random cosplay. I had a red wig that I bought and I created this persona. And I had this idea that this persona would make a grave sacrifice to save her younger sister. And that's also what inspired this book.
That is so cool. I feel like there's so much power in taking on a persona.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Do you have an alter ego currently, or was that your alter ego and you birthed a book out of it?
It used to be that. This may sound kind of odd. I'm part of a medieval reenactment group.
Oh, that doesn't sound weird at all. LARPing? You're on the LARP?
It's actually
love it.
historically accurate LARPing. It's called the SCA,
Okay.
which stands for Society of Creative Anachronism.
Oh, okay.
And I am a pirate.
That is so cool.
A pirate from Turkey, actually.
From Turkey?
Yep. And my historically accurate pirate name is Alice Grimrose, which was actually
That's
the
so
pen
cool.
name I used when I started my writing career.
What?
And Grimrose Studios is the name of my production company.
Oh my gosh. That is so, so cool. So what does it feel like to take on that character? Because it feels like you take it on in many different ways.
Oh yes, definitely. It feels amazing. It's definitely become a big part of who I am, because I don't see it as I'm becoming a different person. I see it as I'm unlocking a different part of me that I kept hidden for so many years.
Retweet on that one. Yeah, absolutely. I have been one to dabble in many alter egos. I feel like I have like 50 different names out there, but I love it just because I do agree with you. There is this unlocking that happens when you take on a different name, when you take on a different persona. I think the best person who ever really dived into it was David Bowie. I think he did such a phenomenal job at understanding what persona is, understanding what ego is, understanding what alter ego is versus a persona. And I remember watching him a lot during COVID, and that's where my writing name, Tommy Alexandria, came out, because I watched him and I was like, oh my God, like that's what I want to be. And at that time I was using Madfish as my name. And Madfish was more of a party animal. And I was starting to age out of that. And now I'm kind of back. I don't know. It ebbs and flows and it changes, you know? But even Beyonce has an alter ego, Sasha Fierce.
Yeah,
you know? It's just, I feel like that is such a great way to look at it, that it's unlocking. And you're not changing, you're not morphing. It's just, it's a different part of you.
Exactly.
So what does, you know, your persona unlock in you?
I use it to explore my confidence a whole lot, because something I've struggled with my entire life is a lack of confidence, especially because of my age. I've had issues in my life where people believe that because I'm a minor, I'm less capable of doing things as an adult. So when I'm in my pirate persona, I like to explore with confidence, and no one knows who I am. So it's a very, not only am I exploring this persona, but it's also an opportunity to explore myself a little more as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that at such a young age. I know that like it's very difficult to be a young person and not being taken seriously. But the fact that it sounds like throughout this entire journey, from the beginning of this interview till now, I've just noticed that you have a very strong theme of reclaiming voice. And so do you feel like that really helps your writing, because you feel like you're reclaiming your voice every time you get to that, you know, type board? That's not what it is. Keyboard?
Yes, I very much do feel like that.
That is so cool. So what are you trying to aim for your next book? What is unlocking in you through that process? Because you're 75,000 words in. That's a lot of words already. So what did it unlock in you?
It's definitely a very hard book to write, and I feel like writing it, I'm definitely working through some of my own stuff.
Oof, I feel that.
Because it's all based, it's called The Happy Pills.
Oh, cool.
And it's all about mental health and addiction, and how addiction can, the ripple effect of addiction. Yeah,
wow. That is really difficult. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with addiction in their family systems or friend systems or work systems. Like, addiction is everywhere, and it's not something to be played around with. It's serious, and it's an illness that I don't think a lot of people really give enough power to. And they relate it to the person. I'm like, no. The person is not the addiction. So for you to write that, how does that like feel when you're writing it? That's heavy. That's really heavy.
It is very heavy, and a lot of the times I'm in tears trying to write, because it's I pour a lot of my heart and soul into this book. And sometimes I have to remember that I am not this character. This character is not me. And that I have to create that. I have to remind myself that there's a boundary there between my personal life and this fictional life that I'm creating, which can be hard sometimes, especially when you're an avid writer.
Well, especially as an artist. Like, I find that boundary is so thin, and people think it's so strong, and it's not.
No, it's
not. You can
not.
lose yourself in any kind of art form you're doing, whether it's visual art, acting, directing, writing. And I feel like as artists, we have to build up that skill to know that, know the limit of, okay, whoa, I need to step away because this is not going to consume me.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, a lot of artists go down that road and we see them pass away at such a young age.
Yeah.
And it's so sad.
It is.
So for you, like, what skills do you have for people listening and watching? What skills would you say you've developed to keep that boundary up and make sure it's not paper thin? And you don't have to, you've been writing for 4 years. It's okay to say, I'm still working on it. It's more than okay.
I am definitely still working on that.
Yeah, it's so difficult. I get lost in characters too when I'm acting. Like, I wouldn't say I'm a method actor. Wouldn't say that in any capacity at all. But I definitely start to feel the character way more the more I go into it.
Yeah.
And I find it very difficult to connect back to reality once that opportunity is done. Or once I'm finished the book, or once I'm done all these things. It's like, how do I drop this character and leave them behind now because the project is done? How do you deal with that?
It's very difficult, and like I said before, that's still something that I'm learning to do myself. I'm very much more connected with the Happy Pills than I was the Murder Society. So
interesting.
I didn't have that problem with the Murder Society.
That's really cool.
I was only working on the Murder Society for about a year between since I opened the document and got it published. It was about a year, just over a year-long process.
Impressive. That's very impressive.
Thank you. But the Happy Pills, I've been trying to write that for 7 years.
Wow. It does take time. Yeah. I feel like a lot of young writers go into it thinking that some projects will be a year, some projects will be 7 years. I know that for Coming of Age-ish, my first book, I finished it within a year, but something told me to hold off and wait 5 years, then come back to it, reread it, rework it, all that kind of stuff. So it really was a 6 to 7 year project.
Oh, yeah.
And then the book I'm currently working on, I've been writing since 2020. So I'm like very deep into it, but like there's still so much I want to write and still so much I want to know. For anybody who's going to pick up a project like writing a book or writing a script, what would be your best advice for them? Because it's a long journey.
Oh, yes, it is. I feel that when you start any project that you're passionate about, it's going to be a long journey.
Yeah.
And if you're truly passionate about it, you're going to put your blood, sweat, and tears into that project.
Absolutely.
And you're going to become obsessed with it for a while. And you're going to cry over it. And then you'll want to distance yourself from it.
Oof, big time.
I have so much advice that I would give. That it's hard to choose one good one. I think a big piece of advice for, not specifically writing, but for any artist, and no matter what your art form is that it's important to be unique and be yourself, and most importantly, not put yourself into a box, especially boxes created by labels that society has given you.
Retweet, Jess, retweet. I love that. I love that. I think that's so important. And especially since earlier in the conversation, you said that I want to specialize in horror, but I do not want to limit myself. And I think that's so important that you do not become your art.
Yep.
You let the art flow through you. And I think that you've already done that, and it's very impressive. And I genuinely love working with you just because I see that passion in you, and I see, like, I would not be surprised within 5 years you're winning an Oscar or like a playwriting award, like all this stuff. Like, I really can see that for you just because the passion is so lively within you. And so last question. So I'm going to go back to an advice question. So this is more of a broad one. What's been the greatest piece of advice you've been given?
This took me a very long time to understand and to actively use. I don't think that's the right word, but I'll go with it. That's
fine.
Is once again, don't let other people's words define you. And I actually had that issue with the Murder Society. Before I started writing it, I was a part of a creative writing group online. And I'm like, I've never written a book like this. Here's a synopsis. Can you give me some advice? And I was actually told by someone in the group that the book was too unrealistic even for fiction.
Wow.
And you know what? I was upset.
Yeah,
Who wouldn't be upset?
Yeah. If somebody criticizes you, like taking criticism, but then also having emotions, those two can exist.
Oh yeah. Definitely. But I didn't let it stop me, and it's my debut novel.
Yeah, and you should be so proud of that.
I am.
I love that piece of advice, though. I love it so much, and I think that spirit in itself is why artists prevail and why art is so important in our society, is because it is the voice of the resilient.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting and so cool to see, because we're like 10 years apart from each other.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't feel that far apart from you. And I just love that you come at everything you do with such a loving, empathetic wisdom. And I hope that continues. And
Me
I
too.
cannot wait to buy this book. Okay, so where can we follow you so that we get all the information about your books and your upcoming projects? Where can we follow you?
You can follow me mainly. I'm the most active on Instagram,
Sweet.
Which is Jessica Alexandria 74.
Nice.
I think.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
pretty sure.
We'll tag it. Don't worry, guys.
And then you can buy The Murder Society on Amazon or at the publisher's website, which is darkmythpublications.com.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. And then we'll stay tuned for all the other locations we can purchase it.
Of course.
Oh, so exciting. Well, thank you so much, Jess.
Thank you
I've
for
had such a
having
great
me.
time talking to you. And I'm sure I'll see you this summer.
Oh, I'm hoping. I'm hoping so.
Perfect. All right. See you guys. Bye.